Joining us now is the head coach at Creighton. Of course, previously was at South Dakota State. It just led them to the last two NCAA tournament appearances and is now back home, basically, Omaha. They're, of course, turning around with a Creighton program. I speak of Krista Wood joining us here in the Circle. How you doing?
Great. How are you?
Doing good. What's it like when I say now Creighton head coach Krista Wood? What goes through your mind?
Um, I just feel a little overwhelmed right now. Just trying to, I feel like Creighton I haven't hardly been on campus. I feel like we've been recruiting a lot. So like I've just been out and about and I'm excited about this opportunity, but want to get on campus a little bit more and meet more of the people. The people I've met so far are super awesome, supportive, and excited about us, getting back on the map in softball.
Take us through that process once that, like, how it all came about. And you're like, because I think some people in softball might have been surprised at first, but I got to know you. I know your background, so this is like a homecoming in a way for you.
Yeah. Yeah, Creighton's always intrigued me a little bit just because of the league they're in. And I think they've been really good in softball before. They've been good. They've been to the NCAA tournament. When they were in the Valley, they won that. Now they're in the Big East. But being close to home and being able to continue to coach at the mid-major level and just presents another challenge for me, just in a different area, one more that I'm familiar with, and then just a very different type of school for sure. You go from South Dakota State to Creighton, but thought it was a great opportunity to get back home, get closer to my family. I've missed out on a lot these last 16 years with my 8 years at Wayne State and 8 years at South Dakota State, which I wouldn't take back for the world. But when this opportunity arose, I was really intrigued by it because I do think Creighton can get back to being a powerhouse here in the Midwest. You're just that much closer to, Omaha. Obviously, it's in Omaha, Kansas City, Iowa, the places I recruit. So yeah.
Talk about, you mentioned obviously the 8 years there at South Dakota State, and before that, you know what it takes to build a program back up, and take it to where they've never been to before. What will you take from those two previous stops that will help you in this stop at Creighton?
Yeah. I learned a lot about myself, just in my first 8 years. But then I learned a lot about how to really build a culture and build a program at South Dakota State. And I felt like I really found my way more, and really finding what the foundation of my culture is and what I really believe in, and what are the big things that I really want to make my kids invest in. So I found that, and then hiring a good staff, a positive staff that's going to have a lot of energy, that's going to help me hit the ground running, I think is going to be super important as well. But yes, I have done it before, and I'm excited about this opportunity. And I just think that I can use all of my experiences, whether it was at Wayne State or South Dakota State, to get this up and running. And my plan is, at South Dakota State, it took me until year 4 to really have a winning season. And, my plan is, this first year to come out with more wins than losses. And I think that would be a big accomplishment.
I was going to ask you, do you see similarities from where you're at, going to be here at Creighton to starting this program here as you take over to where you took over South Dakota State? Do you see similarities? Are they completely different situations? How do you compare?
They're slightly similar and different at the same time. They both came off of seasons where maybe they didn't go to the conference tournament, maybe they lost way more games than they won. But I do think the similarities are you do have a core group of kids that want to win, want to work hard, come from winning programs. And it's all about trying to get them to buy into what your vision is and trust that process. And my first 3 years at South Dakota State, I didn't really I had a vision, but I didn't really feel like I had my culture set when I came in. And then eventually in year 4, I brought that grit mentality that we talked about probably on a previous, with the growth mindset, resilience, integrity, and trust. And that really took off. And here I'm gonna, kind of keep some of the same words, but start right away with that and have what I call a fight mentality. And that's going to be family first, integrity, growth mindset, heart, and trusting the process. And I'm really excited about this because, nowadays the heart piece is, know your why. I mean, I think if kids know their why, they fight harder for each other, and they put everything they have into it every day. So that's a word that I'm kind of adding. And then family. I think a lot of times softball, it's all about making those connections on your team, and whether that's with your coaches, your training staff, your teammates. If you can connect with your teammates and have that good experience, you're going to work hard for them. You're going to fight for them. You're going to do everything that you can. And I think when you can come out at the end of your 4 years and say, man, that's my family. Like, I fought with them. That's really cool. So those are the two different words that I'm bringing into my process, but we're going to start with that right away. I mean, we're going to start in the fall with, some like leadership stuff, connecting with teammates, trying to build that culture. And then in the spring, we'll get into more of that championship mindset stuff, which is another thing I didn't have till the end of my career at South Dakota State. So I think I can start taking some of those things I learned to be really important to the program and important to each kid's experience already here in year one at Creighton.
As it turns out, I got to see your last game as head coach down in Orlando in the weather, and ironically, your last win there was over Villanova. It feels like it was destined that you're going to
Yeah.
be in the Big East there. It's kind of wild. But when you look back at what you accomplished at South Dakota State, how do you want people to remember that run? Because that's a heck of a run you just had to build that thing up to the point where you're within a win away of a regional final here. As you built this up with the success you had, and you've set the bar high for future that program moving forward with the next head coach and beyond.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to know, like, because a lot of people told me when I took that job, you can't win in South Dakota. They don't have high school softball. It's too far north. It's too cold. And like, if you really put your mind to something and you really believe in it and you really show your passion and devotion to it, it will happen. And you got to just get those kids and the people to buy in. And not only do I think the players bought in, but their families, the fans, and it's going to be, a really cool experience for them next year. Again, I mean, they got everybody back. They have pretty much the entire team back. They're all juniors, which I think is really cool. And they always say, like, if you can leave somewhere better, if you can leave there and it be better than what you found it, you did your job. If it was hard to leave, you did your job. And so I felt like it was hard for me to leave there. It was one of the hardest decisions I've had to make, but I had to do what I felt was best for me and my family. And getting back this way is something that I've been, wanting to do. Sometimes opportunities don't come at the most convenient times, but again, another challenge. And if I could coach those kids for 2 more years and 3 more years, I would. But the list goes on. I mean, at some point, at what point do you leave and take that next step? Because every year we're going to be pushing for a championship. So I'm excited now to kind of put my stamp here at Creighton and build this culture and teach these kids what I know and help them win a championship for the first time in the Big East history. And get to an NCAA tournament in being out of the Big East, because they have been NCAA tournaments in the past, and to get the alumni all back involved. I think Creighton's got a rich tradition of winning in softball, and it goes way back. And I think that it'll be important to get all those people back involved and get excited about what we're doing here at Creighton.
The sense I got, because I watched your introductory press conferences too, is that the administration is also behind you in as far as pushing for softball. As you know, this game, the sport's about facilities now. We've talked about that in the past. I've talked to the coaches in the Big East. Villanova, Bridget Orchard, the job she's done there, they're building facilities over there. It sounds like Creighton's committed to softball too, which was a big selling point to you. Is that accurate?
Yes. Sorry, my light went off in here. I wasn't moving enough. Yeah, I mean, that's what really excited me as well. To come here to Creighton and I guess I haven't ever taken over a program that's been at its top, with the facilities and all that. And to come here and maybe be a part of that process of them, putting up a new stadium and building it from the ground up and doing some things. I think that's exciting as you're building a team as well, getting recruits to come, and then having an athletic director again, like Marcus Blossom, that is invested in softball and baseball right now, and wanting to see us succeed and do the things that he expects as well.
Have you had time to like soak it in that, hey, you're back in Omaha, in Nebraska, in the state of Nebraska, you're back in Omaha, which, we've talked in the past. I mean, you've had so many great memories there. You know that area so well. You were a great player. I remember. Did you ever end up getting inducted to your school Hall of Fame there? Because I remember COVID interrupted all that.
Yeah, technically, no, I was
Oh,
supposed to be inducted in 2020, spring of COVID, and obviously COVID hit. And then the next year, there was still a lot of those restrictions. And so, yeah, I mean, soon, I guess I'm on the docket to be inducted, but here in the next year, I'm hoping I get in before it gets too late. But
just let notify them. Hey, I'm closer now. I could
yeah,
drive.
I'm way closer. I'm just down the street. But yeah, for sure. I haven't felt like I've been at home yet, just probably because I've been on the road so much. But it does feel like home, especially just because I get to see my family more now. I mean, I barely in the summers, I'd maybe see them 2, 3 times during the summer, and now when I go home off a recruiting trip, boom, I'm right there. I'm seeing my family. So, but this whole year, I think will be a learning and growing process for me. Just trying to figure out the ways here, and then start connecting back with people that I've lost touch with, or that I'm ready to get back in touch with again. Whether it's my old teammates, old college friends, or just even other coaches that I connected with when I was down at Wayne State. So it's been a crazy month and a half for sure. I feel like since the moment that I was announced as the Creighton coach, my phone hasn't shut off, my emails haven't stopped, and it's just been a whirlwind, but it's been a good whirlwind. And I know it'll slow down as we get going here, but right now we're trying to get our team the best team we can for this upcoming season, along with locking up some 23 recruits for the first upcoming class here of mine at Creighton. And so it's been wild. We've been having kids on campus when we're actually here, and otherwise we're on the road recruiting.
All right. Well, make sure we got to fit this in now. You get inducted. I mean, you brought a national title, Omaha. There, you're one of the greats there. Let's get you
Yeah, I
honored
need
there.
to push that a little bit more, maybe.
Yeah, yeah. Trust me, as somebody who's like in University Hall of Fame, sometimes they kind of like get lost in track, but it speaks to because we've talked in past about the talent in the state. You had to, you were able to pluck some away to South Dakota State. Now it's in house. So discuss that as far as the talent in the state. Now you're able to trying to keep them in.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's going to be important is as we start this recruiting process is continuing to try to keep the best kids in the state of Nebraska, because yeah, I was one of them that tried to take kids out of the state. So now, here I am, and, trying to build my vision here of trying to keep, kids home and play at Creighton, and how exciting that could be to be playing in front of your family and friends here in Omaha, Nebraska. So I'm excited about that opportunity. We're still going to go after the best kids in the state and try to lock them in. And eventually, we're going to work on being the best team in the state. So that's kind of our goal.
The Big East was quietly a top 10 league in the RPI conference last year, and it's been around top flirting with that for the last couple of years. Speak to that, joining the league here that you're going to be coaching the Big East with, with Bridget, who you faced in the NCAA tournament, the job she's done at her alma mater at Villanova, taking them to places they've not been to before. Tracy Addick-Zins at DePaul. Obviously, he's done a great job over there as well. Laura Valentino at UConn. Speak to joining the coaches in this league and this conference, which I know in talking to all of them, they believe they could be a multi-bid league.
Yeah, I agree. I know this year, definitely, looking at the league with UConn, winning the league, and then Villanova upsetting them in the conference tournament. But yeah, the Big East, I mean, I think they're very competitive. They're building stadiums. They have nice facilities. They're getting good kids in. They're doing a good job recruiting. And overall, I mean, whether you're at DePaul or you're at Butler and out at UConn or Villanova, I mean, those coaches are all working hard. I see them out on the road, and I'm excited about, being able to compete at that high level, and then even helping this conference RPI go up. I think if we can be better, we will help the conference too. And I think that's what it's all about. So then potentially we could be a 2-bid conference.
You scheduled tough at South Dakota State and traveled almost everywhere. Is that philosophy going to be, you're going to be able to pull that off as well at Creighton?
Yeah, I mean, this year, just because it's so late, I can't be as particular in what we're doing for 2023. But so we're just trying to get into some competitive tournaments right away here for this upcoming season. But as we grow and as we continue to get better and get classes in, I mean, we're going to continue to compete at a high level to prepare us to help win a Big East title. I think it's important to play a tough preseason schedule with a balance of, top 50 teams, top 100 RPI, top 150, and then be able to learn from those experiences so that when you get into the Big East, you're prepared and you're ready to win. So we will do that this year. I would say that would be my 1 year where I'm not quite. We're just trying to get into tournaments, and then after that, we'll be a little bit more strategic as to how we're scheduling.
Totally understandable. You just announced recently your staff with of familiar names: Ryan Wiggleman, who that last name is very well known, and then Tori Stafford, which makes me old because I just watched her play. I covered her. Now she's a coach, full time coach. Talk about your staff and the process there as far as your vision for your coaching staff.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I wanted some people that were hungry, they're ready to learn, they're ready to hit the ground running. They've been around the game, they've been by good people, some of the best in the country. I mean, Tori, for instance, at our, played at Tulsa, been at Arkansas now, worked with Matt Michael and Courtney Deifel. Speak highly of her. She's going to kind of head up our defense with what we're doing, all the defensive stuff and strategically planning for that. Where Ryan Willigman, obviously his dad's the hitting coach at Kansas and been around the game for years and years, just came from Texas State. Again, under a good hitting coach, will be the one that is kind of heading up our offense and making sure that we are prepared for those moments. And then I'll continue to do the pitching, although all together, all three of us will be working together to make sure this team's prepared and ready to go for every opponent. But when you can kind of separate that, then everyone's got their expertise of what they're going to do. I think that'll be good. But again, I mean, they have a lot of energy. They're excited about this opportunity. Because I mean, coming out of here, I mean, we have nothing to lose. We're gonna build this from the ground up, from where it's at, coming off of this year, and that's something that I think that I told them I've done it twice, and it's something to really be proud of once you get it going. And I have no doubt in my mind with the work ethic they have and stuff that we'll get this thing rolling before you know it.
What was it like getting to meet the players, inheriting them, and how will you approach this moving forward? Do you watch and maybe some tape of what they did last year, especially the returners? Do you just kind of throw that out, start fresh? Take us through that process as you get to learn them and they get to learn you.
Yeah, I think I'm not going to go back and watch. We played them, but I want to give them a fresh start. I think more than anything, it's a new year, a new fresh start. Talking to them, they sound excited about this opportunity of maybe starting new with a new mentality. But more than anything, I'm gonna let them know, like, y'all that are returning, you were part of last year. So what could you have done better last year? Could you have put more effort in? Could you have been a better teammate? What are some things that maybe you didn't do well last year that you can start learning and doing better this year? And I'm going to let them be the judge of that. And we're really going to talk through some of those issues. And we are going to really focus on being a team and playing for the we versus me mentality. Because I think that a lot of times when you lose, it's always somebody else's fault. And that we lose as a team, we win as a team. And I think that we need to really, really focus on that mentality and how we're doing it together. But I'm excited. They're excited. We're going to work hard. And, that's the way we're going to do it from here on out. Whether you signed up for it or you didn't, that's what we're doing. And I know, like, every single kid, but maybe a couple that I bring in, signed up to play for a different coach. But I'm going to put my twist on it, and we'll try to meet them halfway. But we're definitely going to work hard, and we're going to get after it. And I mean, our goals are to make a postseason, to make the conference tournament this year. Sorry, my light went off again. To make the conference tournament, they didn't make it last year. So, and then once you get in the conference tournament, anything can happen. So that's kind of my mentality, is we're just going to bust hard from the get go, and we're going to, everything. It starts in August when you get here for individuals, and September 1 when season starts. I mean, we work hard from that day forward because that stuff pays off in May.
Do you put a timeline as you build a program of, hey, I want to be at this point by this point, or do you just let it evolve? How do you approach that when you're building a program?
I have in the past just kind of let it evolve. And then every year as we make like the team, we make team goals, but I let the team make the goals with a little bit of my help, I would say. But like I feel like if I make the team goals and these are my expectations, kids don't work as hard for them because those are my goals, not your goals. So I kind of want to hear them out. What are your goals? What are your expectations? And then how do we get there? And I think if you can take those steps, and sometimes you set your goals a little high and and then sometimes and I will make sure they don't set them too low. But I mean, even this year at South Dakota State, our goal was to win a regional. And that was the one goal we didn't accomplish this year. But you know what? We set it because it was higher and that's what we were supposed to do than just getting to a regional. So, I mean, right now, I mean, a goal here would be to get to a postseason. I think that you have a winning record, make it to the conference tournament. And if you can continue to take those baby steps, your team sees progress. So I think it's important to set attainable goals right away and then really focus on the process. Like, what does it take to get there? Because I think a lot of people set goals, but then they lose sight of the process. Like, what is it going to take to get to those? And so that's what we're really going to focus on. And if we can, even if we don't attain those goals, but we can say we really, really bought into the process and we did that well, so be it. That's what it is. And we'll set goals again next year and we'll set a process, but we got to stick to it.
You've mentioned before, you mentioned it earlier here, and you mentioned in your press conference about the tradition of Creighton softball. Speak to that. Is that something that you've thought about since maybe you grew up in the area, that you follow them closely, that you've maybe gone to games? Like, to speak to the tradition that maybe some may not be as familiar with.
Yeah, I mean, Creighton, the tradition of their softball, I mean, when they were good, they had some good pitching, they had some big hitters, they had speed, they had it all, power, speed, pitching. And that was kind of the tradition you saw from them. They were tough. Even when I was at UNO, we'd get to play them in the fall. And we always knew we had a tough game ahead of us. And it was a big deal if we could beat Creighton, because they were Division I, we were Division II at the time. But, just getting well-rounded student athletes here. I mean, it's a private school with a lot of high academic expectations here. So being able to balance, being a softball player and getting an education here, I think is something that the student athletes have been really able to attain here. So if we can continue to have that mix of talented players along with good student athletes, that's a tradition I want to keep going here is, get here. We want to win. We want to graduate. We want to do it the Blue Jay way.
And you got a great athletic department too. I mean, the basketball program speaks for itself. There's always high expectations there, but it's not just basketball there at Creighton. Speak to the overall athletic department there that's competing in the Big East, which obviously, as I mentioned, growing strong as softball. And of course, obviously, is known for its basketball. I have a feeling you're going to be going to a few basketball games. You've got that lined up.
I'm going to try to go to that for sure. Volleyball, was really good. Soccer's, baseball finished second in the Big East. I mean, I think like a half a game out. I'm not even sure what they were, but I would say we're the team that needs to step it up a little bit. And I think we're going to have a lot of support from the other coaches and teams around us, just because they want to see everybody succeed here. And I've already felt that from, volleyball, the cross country, basketballs, baseball. They want to see us up there too. They want to see us competing for a championship just like they are. And that's the exciting part is, especially being a spring sport, you get to build off of their momentum the whole year. You get to see what, basketballs do and volleyballs and even soccer's, like, what do they do? And then you can build off that momentum for the spring and hopefully end the spring in a bang.
And it's interesting. I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but in that region, they love their baseball and softball. Obviously, Omaha's the home of the Men's College World Series. That's a big deal. But they love their softball there, too. It shows that the support throughout the state. That also is appealing.
Yeah, I mean, softball's taken off here in the last 5 or 6 years, whether it's, ESPN, the coverage we get. You just saw that the Women's College World Series, I mean, there's more bleachers. They had a padded outfield wall. I mean, the stadium was beautiful. And even I think I saw something on Twitter that showed that there were more people watching the softball games than there were viewers of, some of the baseball games. So softball's an up and coming sport. It's fun to watch. It's fast. People are intrigued by it. And in the state of Nebraska, we've had lots of very talented players, leave and be successful, with one of them being Jordan Ball down at Oklahoma. I had a few up at South Dakota State. I mean, the list will go on, but Nebraska breeds softball players, and in the state, softball is good. So it's exciting for us to be able to be in the mix of that.
For Creighton fans that maybe didn't follow South Dakota State closely, describe your style that you're gonna when people see Creighton softball on the field. What do they expect? What are they gonna see?
Yeah, I think we're gonna have what I call, we're gonna play gritty. We're never gonna give up. We're always gonna answer back. And I feel like we want to be a team that's resilient. I think the players that are the most resilient are the teams that end up on top. They don't let failure get to them. They learn and grow from those things. Playing as a team, lots of energy. I'm pretty laid back at third base coaching, but my team is usually pretty hyped, so that's fun. Pitching, I think we're fundamentally sound, and we'll continue to grow and work on all those aspects as we're here these first few years. But having that mentality that no one's going to beat you when you step out on the field, and that you have a chance to win any game no matter who's on the other side. And I think no matter what the score is, I mean, whether you just gave up 3 runs in the top of the 7th and you only have 3 outs to work with, that you can score 4. So just having those mentalities of never giving up, I think, is what I want people to see from our program. And then again, just being well-rounded student athletes, that our kids are polite and nice and caring and appreciative of the things that they get here. Because I think sometimes we lose sight of that. But just I'm excited to have this opportunity, because I think Creighton is a great place. And whether it's for school, your education, softball, and just being in the city of Omaha, we can really build a big program here.
Well, I'm excited for you because I know how much going back home kind of means to you there, as I've gotten to know you, and I think it's a big, big move for Creighton, and I'm excited for them. And congrats! I know you're excited. I know you're busy during this time, so I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me, not just today, but throughout the years. And we'll
For
definitely
sure.
get you back on as you get closer to the season and get a
Yes.
feel for your team. Thanks for doing this.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.